minutes. Let's go. 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. All right. Somebody going upstairs. All right. Okay. All right. Hey, Craig, we got that last tape. Are we all right there?
All right. Come on. Let's go.
Playback's calling for it. Okay. All right. I'm coming. We got that review piece first.
Let's go. 2 minutes. Let's go. We gotta go. 2 minutes.
Ellen, here you go. Scripts.
Thanks.
What do you think?
Come on, Dave.
You're
You
gonna
gotta
do
go,
it.
Dave.
Yeah?
Yeah, they sure will.
All right, should be exciting. First playoff game for the Lions since 1983. We've got a lot for you in the next 30 minutes. We'll review the season, look at this game, and have a conversation with Lions owner William Clay Ford as well. That's ahead, so stay with us.
Come on, get in here. Get in here.
The Roar Restored. This Channel 7 sports special is being brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last, and by Codalux Processing Services, because time goes by.
Good evening, everyone. The Lions have enjoyed a terrific season, and they're getting set for their first playoff game since 1983. They meet the Cowboys at a sold-out Silverdome on Sunday afternoon. And it will be a rematch of the October 27th regular season meeting. Rodney Pete's season ended on this pass play early in that game, injuring an Achilles tendon. But Erik Kramer did the job in relief, throwing touchdown passes to Willie Green there. And later, the little dump pass to Barry Sanders, which Barry would take into the end zone. The final was 34-10, but Cowboys coach Jimmy Johnson says that result doesn't matter now.
I really think it's, almost trite. Of payback or revenge. When you're talking about the stakes that we're talking about, the awards and the goals that we have in front of us, what happened in a regular season game is really insignificant as far as I'm concerned.
While the Lions enjoyed last week off with a bye, the Cowboys had to beat the Bears to advance and did, 17-13 at Soldier Field. Dallas has won 6 straight games, playing excellent football.
Right now, I don't see a whole lot of weaknesses in Dallas Cowboys. I think they'll come into our dome feeling that they moved the ball real well against us last time. I think we have to do is stop their passing game as well as stop their running game. They have one of the best runs in football. We have the best, in my opinion. But they're a football team that they can throw and run the ball as well.
There is one other play from that first meeting the Cowboys haven't forgotten. It happened late in the game. The Cowboys were driving, and Troy Aikman threw into the flat. Ray Crockett picked it off and had clear sailing the other way. It would go as a 96-yard interception return, but just before reaching the goal line, Crockett would stop and turn back toward the Cowboys before stepping into the end zone. It was a hot dog move the Cowboys remember.
They did some things that we thought was very outrageous and very.
Does Crockett come to mind?
Oh, come very close to mind. I'm telling you what he did, man. It was neat to watch it, but it was when you see it on the replay and everything over and over and over again, it set in a little bit. But everyone has their own personality. Everyone has their way of doing things. That I don't fault them for it.
For most of the Lions, Sunday's playoff game will be their first. And these players who have stayed together through the adversity of the season, including the tragic injury to teammate Mike Utley, well, they're excited about their opportunity.
It's special and everything like that, but at the same time, it's just another game. We're going to have to go out and do the same things to win as any other game, a preseason game or a regular season game. So while there's a lot of excitement, you still have to come back down to earth and say, well, we're going to have to go out and play hard.
We're only 2 away from the big one, and I know Benny well. He's a lot like me, and there's nothing that's going to stop us unless we die before Sunday, and I might rear-wreck then and come back and play.
That's just a dream come true. I mean, everybody wants to be a part of the playoffs, and, coming down to the final part of the season, you want to be there at the end, and, we got our shot just like everyone else now.
It should be 80,000 people here. The Dallas Cowboys, we're looking at as 1 game from playing in the NFC Championship game, 2 games away from the Super Bowl. So, hey, when you look at it that way, I don't think anybody can stop you then.
And we've got much more to come tonight, including a look back at the last time the Lions were in the playoffs. That was 1983. Also, Lions owner William Clay Ford talks about his team and this season. That's ahead on The Roar Restored.
To
me, it's not good enough to go 12-4, and to me, it's not good enough just to make the playoffs. If you get to that point and you don't capitalize or do anything about it, it's just been another wasted year. Because the only thing the bottom line, the only thing that matters is winning it all. That's the only thing where you can judge success by as a team.
Chris Spielman was a junior in high school when the Lions won the NFC Central Division title in 1983. Monte Clark was coach then, with Billy Sims, the big play man, on offense. The Lions' playoff opponent was San Francisco, and it was a memorable but frustrating game.
It was one of those games you just keep scratching your head thinking, if only this happened, or if only we did that, and it just never came to fruition.
Erik Hipple sprained a knee in the final regular season game, and he was limited to relaying plays to Gary Danielson. The Lions went into the game with confidence.
They were a very good football team. Montana was at his absolute peak and prime, and we were playing them on their turf. We were a good football team. We felt we could beat San Francisco, and we felt we could beat Washington, who we would ultimately end up playing. So we thought we had a chance to go.
The Lions scored first with a field goal, but Danielson was intercepted twice in the early going, both leading to 49er touchdowns. San Francisco led 14-9 at the half. Billy Sims scored a pair of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, the Lions moving in front 23-14. But Joe Montana brought the Niners back, and his 14-yard pass to Freddie Solomon with 1:23 left put San Francisco ahead 24-23.
He had a 2-minute offensive drive to try to get the game back, and I was fortunate enough to hit some passes. I can remember one scrambling out to my left, and just as I was going down, throwing it to Freddie Scott near the sideline, and that kept the drive alive.
We worked the ball down to the 25-yard line, and all I had to do is call in old reliable Eddie Murray, who never misses. And you might remember the pose of me on the sideline, and I felt pretty sure. I didn't think that prayer was that necessary.
It was 43 yards, a kick that, if successful, would put the Lions into the NFC Championship game.
You get answers to prayers, yes, no, and maybe, and the answer to that one was no, because it was just off to the right a little bit.
That's the one kick that's going to, unfortunately live with me for as long as I'm going to continue to play. But I feel I've been a much better kicker after that, because I know I told myself, you have to dedicate yourself a little bit harder to the game, and those kind of kicks either make you or break you. And I feel like I'm a lot better of a person and a better of a kicker from that time on.
And perhaps Eddie Murray will have a chance for another big playoff kick come Sunday. Now, William Clay Ford bought the Lions in November of 1963. In the 28 years of his ownership, the Lions have won only 2 division titles and made 4 playoff appearances. So you can imagine how rewarding this season has been, but he admits it was a lousy beginning.
Well, you're not too thrilled when you get knocked off 45-0, but I mean, you've seen enough games. Those games happen. I mean, there are games when things start to go wrong, they really go wrong. And it ends up in a total whitewash the way that did. And you can't judge a team by that. I mean, that could happen to the best of teams. That could happen to Washington. It happened to us, sure, disappointed, because everybody likes to start off their season with a win. Half the teams obviously aren't going to. But to get blown out like that, you think, gee, you got some thinking to do. But I think when you put it in perspective, okay, it's one game, it's out of the way, let's go on. And we did.
And overcoming all the adversity along the way with the injuries, the Rodney Peets, the Michael Kofers, the tragedy of Mike Utley's injury.
Right.
And to continue to win, to find a way to win.
I suppose you'd call it magic, because it's a chemistry that is developed among the players on this team, and they're such a cohesive group, and they really play for each other. They don't play for themselves. They play for the team. And the coaching staff the same way, and I think it's as simple or as complicated as that, depending on how you want to look at it. I know every team is looking for that. We were very fortunate in this year that we've got a blend of personalities that just mesh, and okay, we had some bad luck, let's go on.
There have been a lot of years where things haven't worked out like you would have liked. But now to experience 12 wins, a franchise high, to be going to the playoffs, to have a home playoff game, this has got to be tremendously rewarding for you,
oh, yeah,
is it not?
It's the most gratifying feeling in the world. I mean, you try for so long, and you just, pretty soon you start to wonder, is it ever going to happen, what are we doing wrong, or why aren't we improving? And all of a sudden to see it fall into place and be there, it's a very, very satisfying feeling. It's a wonderful feeling.
What do you enjoy most about owning the Detroit Lions football team? Is there one thing or a couple of things? What brings you the most pleasure or joy?
Well, number one, you've got to love the sport. But I'm not so sure that a lot of owners do love the sport. I think there are a lot of them that are in it for a variety of reasons, but not the true love of the game itself. I think the game is wonderful. And as I mentioned earlier, I thoroughly enjoy the association with the players and the people that are involved in pro football. It's a very, very nice bunch of people. And I think, and I say this with a lot of pride, our organization is superb. I mean, all the people that the public doesn't see, but all the staff people that we have, it's a pleasure to work with. It's a great group, and the players themselves are a great group. And again, I think Wayne, starting really last year, started to weed out some of the sour apples and some of the people that might have very good potential as a football player, but it brought other baggage with them, be it personality or whatever it might be, that just wasn't going to fit in. We're not a team of super egos. If anybody deserved to have one, I think Barry Sanders. I don't think anybody would argue with that. And he's the most modest player in the world, and all he wants is for the team to win. And so I think Wayne has done a superb job of culling out the people that don't mesh. And we've just got a nice bunch of players.
And while they struggle to win, in part because of all the injuries, they're winning, and even the players now seem to be taking a certain amount of pride in the fact that they're winning ugly, whatever it takes.
Absolutely, whatever it takes, sure. I mean, there aren't too many Rembrandts that get painted every Sunday out there. And, we've had some, as you say, ugly wins, but once you put that W down, that's all that counts.
There has been an excitement building with this team as the victories have mounted, as the team has overcome the adversity that it has this season, to the point now where we're looking at a home playoff game, going to be a sellout. Football excitement is back in this town.
Right. Long overdue, I'm sure nobody would argue with that. Comes at a great time when, the economy's sour. There really isn't a whole lot of good news around this city, and to have a team that's causing some excitement and can, help alleviate people's problems, great.
Do you think this team is arrived to a point now where they can become a perennial contender for winning the Central Division, becoming a playoff type team? That's what you'd like to see, certainly.
That's everybody's objective, and I think if we get back the players that are been injured, I mean, the Rodney Peets, the Mike Gophers, Jerry Balls, those the key players, we'll be a force. I've never been one to go out on a limb and predict, and I don't want to predict, but I think if we can keep this chemistry going, add those key players, sure, there's no reason why we shouldn't be in there for a long time. It's a young team. We ought to be a force for hopefully years to come.
And who knows, maybe a Super Bowl or two.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, it's possible. It certainly is. I mean, that's the goal, obviously. I mean, the playoffs are wonderful. I'm delighted we're in them. That just starts phase 2. That's the road to the Super Bowl. We've at least gotten to where we're in a position to make a move at it, and we'll get there.
And it will be a proud moment for William Clay Ford on Sunday when the Lions play that first playoff game since 1983. When we come back, I'll be joined by the sports writers who cover the Lions on a daily basis. That's next as we continue with The Roar Restored. The Lions have enjoyed an outstanding season, one of the team's best in years, but there has been some adversity along the way. Joining me to review things, Mike O'Hara, the Detroit News, 15 years, the Lions beat writer for that newspaper. Also, Kurt Sylvester of the Detroit Free Press, 14 years covering the Lions. And Tom Kowalski of the Oakland Press, 11 years covering the Lions beat. And Mike, let me begin with you. Are you surprised at what the Lions as a team have accomplished this season?
Well, Dave, if you'd asked me this at the start of the season, I'd say, yeah, I was very much surprised. But, watching the whole season develop, watch things go along as they have, no, from like the the midpoint of the season on, I felt that this was a good young team and getting better, and this is no fluke now. This is no just team on a roll or anything like that. It's not just a team on a mission, but it really is a good, solid, one of the 3 best teams in the NFC.
Kurt, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I really would have. At the start of the season, I predicted they'd win, I think, 5 games. So obviously, I wasn't expecting anything like that. But I think it's funny because you talk about teams getting better little by little by little over a course of 2 or 3 years. But I think in the case of the Lions, they had all the pieces in place, and all of a sudden, when they fit, the whole thing just kind of kicked in, and they became a much better team in a big hurry. And then even when they lost some of the best players, as they have through injuries, the guys stepping in just seemed to lift it up a little bit higher and keep things going at the same level.
And I guess that's the thing that surprised me, Tom. I don't know about you. I mean, Rodney Peete goes down. You know, Mike Kofor goes down. Key players that the Lions have lost, and this team has still found a way to win.
I think that the adversity has almost helped them in a way because it's given them something to focus on and something to overcome. And almost every week it's something else. You know, injuries, just bad situations that they've been able to overcome. So I think they've actually used that, and in a lot of ways, I think it's taken some of the pressure off when the playoff grind was on. They were thinking about how they were going to get over the absence of Rodney and then Jerry and all these people. I think it's kind of helped them to focus on playing football and getting better as the Lions, as opposed to looking what everybody else was doing.
All right, we've seen in the past. You know, the Lions have reached a point, and we thought, all right, they're ready to take off, and you know, the cards have crumbled. Have they arrived, and are they here to stay as a contending team for the next few years?
I think they could be. You never know what's going to happen. You look back at that 1983 team. I thought that was a pretty good football team, but they had some critical injuries. They lost Billy Sims in the 1984 season. They lost a couple offensive linemen, and things just started to crumble right around them. The team went right back down the drain. Monte Clark lost his job. I think you look at this Lions team. They're pretty solid everywhere except for the one dominating pass rusher. That's the one thing they don't have. They're solid linebackers. They're solid defensive backs. They have a great running back. Their quarterbacks might not be great, but they're guys that can get a job done, and they're pretty good in the offensive line. So there's no reason they shouldn't be a good team for several more years.
You know, Wayne Fontes talked about the other day the key to the season, as far as he was concerned, was beating Green Bay and then goal line stands against Miami in terms of you know, really bringing this team together and time that they had arrived. Is that a good point on his part, do you think?
Well, I think it is. I look back, there were a couple of things. I think when they made that big rally against Minnesota, I think that really did a lot to convince guys that they could win, even under the worst conditions, having to come from way behind. I think that was a very important game. The other thing that I thought they were kind of wandering. They were just a little bit unfocused at the time that Mike Utley got hurt. They'd lost 3 out of 4 games, just weren't sharp, just didn't have the same intensity or anything about them, it seemed to me. And when Mike got hurt, I mean, it was a terrible thing. Everybody'd rather have him healthy than have the inspiration. But I think they really drew a lot of strength from his thumbs up sign. They felt that was really a courageous thing. And all of a sudden, just like that, everybody was focused again.
You know, you take 3 or 4 things, Dave, and you look at a season and you put them all together, and that's what makes a good team, just like Kurt said. The goal line stand against Miami, you can hold them out and win. The comeback against Minnesota, you can always come back and rally. Like I believe Bill Parcells said, a team will remember that for 3 or 4 weeks and remember that it's never out of the game. The thing with Utley overcoming adversity, and then the other injuries that aren't as tragic as that, but it weaves a thread through a team and it binds it together and it draws it tighter, and you finally just tie a little knot in there, and these are your guys, and you have a chemistry and you have a character, and it turns out you might have a championship too.
Yeah. What about the job that Wayne Fontes has done?
Not only did he take a 6-10 team and turn it into an instant winner and playoff contender and all that, but he kept the team together through the adversity. And even in preseason, you remember they got toasted in Kansas City, and every week he kept saying, we're getting better. And people would scoff at him and say, oh, he's just yakking and all that. But he kept saying, we're getting better, we're not the same old Lions. He kept saying it. Whether they won or lost, he'd say, we're getting better, we're not the same old Lions. And then that Miami game that he brought out, I think that was the beginning of the beginning, because that, when he walked in the room and said, we're getting better, we're not the same old Lions, because I thought they were going to lose. I thought there was no way on earth they could keep Marino out of the end zone, and you did too.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I mean, everybody did, and we have every reason to believe that they would lose that game, but they didn't. And then finally, what he said had validity, and now I think the players started believing in themselves, and it wasn't just rhetoric and yakking. and I think he's done a great job.
Mike?
You know, certain players and certain coaches just kind of fit together. If you took maybe Wayne and put him in the Washington Redskins, it would, you know, a veteran team that's been around, maybe he wouldn't have that same hold, that same magnetic appeal with his players, but he fits this team. You know, a lot of people laughed at him and made fun of him when he talked about the Super Bowl. They came back off the layoff after beating the Bears on Thanksgiving Day, and he told the team, we have a chance to get in the playoffs, and then we have a chance to win the Super Bowl, or get into the Super Bowl, and people thought he was looking too far ahead. I never agreed with it. I think he did the right thing. He rejuvenated the team at a time when he needed it. Wayne Fontes knows this team better than anybody in this world. He's got his finger on that pulse, and he is perfect for this football team.
Mike O'Hara, Kurt Sylvester, Tom Kowalski, thank you very much. Lions review for this season. We've got much more on our show. Stay with us. The Lions helped make Detroit the city of champions in the 50s. The Lions had some great teams, winning 3 NFL titles, the last one in 1957. Joe Schmidt played in that 57 game, which the Lions won big, 59-14 over the Cleveland Browns. Schmidt coached the Lions to a playoff appearance in 1970, and he thinks this team can enjoy some playoff success.
I think this young team has the capabilities to, surprise some people because they've met some challenges during the season, and I think they have a lot of confidence in themselves and a lot of good young football players there.
Good young players the Lions hope will help them make playoff appearances for years to come. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night, everyone.
This Channel 7 Sports Special has been brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last, and by Codalux Processing Services, because time goes by.
Hey, Dave. Great show.
Hey, thanks, Brian.
What do you really think about the upcoming playoff games?
In the Dome? Hey, piece of cake. Have a nice weekend.
Take care, Dave.